Hey guys, how you doing? This is basically our last video on the Panther tank. Basically because this is a Bergpanther, and I've been putting together a battalion of for rapid fire purposes, basically a German medium tank battalion, and I've been populating that with Panthers, and I've covered various brands, Airfix, Artillery, Armour Fast, and so on and so forth. And part of the rules for rapid fire in the second version stipulate that a Bergpanther is a handy little thing to have. So I got one, but I couldn't find one in a kit form that I remember. So at one point in time I considered getting a die-cast one, but I actually settled on this white metal piece, which is from a company called SHQ Miniatures in the UK. These are white metal, are kind of lead based kind of products, so there's a fair bit of weight in them, so they won't slide off the old Wargames table too easily, in fairness to them. But they're not your normal kind of plastic kit kind of scenario that I would be kind of known for reviewing, to be fair. And I don't use an awful lot of white metal stuff myself, for no real reason other than I kind of a fondness for the plastic kits. But when I kind of look at a situation and I require something that can only be got in white metal, well, yeah, I'll go with it, because generally they're pretty good, and I have used one or two of these SHQ Miniatures bits before, and I have to say they're pretty cool. They're pretty good. So from that perspective, no problems there. They come in a plastic bag with smaller components in another plastic bag. One of which I seem to have left inside in that one. I think that's actually a gun or something, maybe, I don't know. No, it's not actually, it's just a little rod. But anyway, you get your instruction sheet for what it is. Again, these are sort of, I wouldn't say they're a fast build, because you have to be a bit careful trimming off excess metal and all the rest of it like that. That's the one thing I would say when you're using these white metal pieces, is just watch your fingers. Make sure you get all the little kind of burrs and sticky out bits kind of filed off, because otherwise you'll nick yourself in the middle of a war game, or when you're painting it or something, or putting it together. So just have a bit of a care there, and make sure all the rough little pieces are taken care of. But basically the instructions, as you can see there, it says German Bergpanther A recovery tank, and it just kind of names out the bits and pieces of what these are. You've got obviously the hull, you've got towing booms, mud guards, seats, spare tracks, winch guards, cranes in the this crane is in a stowed position as well, so that's pretty cool. And that's it, really. That's the instructions. That's the level of packaging that comes with it. So let's have a look at the tracks themselves. Kind of a one-piece track system, which I always like. Nicely enough cast. Little tiny piece missing here from this one, but hey, you're not going to worry too much about that. Just a little nick there. I'd say just didn't form well in the mould. But as I say, this is Wargame, and it's not a shelf model, as I'd call it. So I tend not to get too worried about that. But nice little bit of detail, in fairness. The teeth are sunk into the tracks there, which is quite nice. And the back of it, they have a little bit of detail there too, which is cool. There's a lot of kits you don't have that, but hey, there you go. Track detail is pretty accurate to the Panther as well. Couldn't really fault that. Around here, this is kind of what I'm talking about. I took that down with a little bit of a trim with a penknife there before filming, because I damn near cut myself on it yesterday evening having a look at this. So there was a little bit sticking out there. So just be careful of those kind of things. There's the other set of tracks, of course, as well for the other side, which is fairly okay. Can't really fault that. Same as the other side, and no real missing bits there. Slight little wobble there maybe, but other than that, that's fine. You have the spade, which would be kind of dug into the ground, as the winch would be retracting something that's been pulled out of a ditch or a pond or whatever, or just recovering the vehicle basically. So obviously this would provide a bit of traction while the vehicle be winching something rearward. So it's kind of a, I don't know what you'd even call that. What do they actually term that? Number 3, box body. Alright, okay, anyway, that's the box body. So obviously there's bits and pieces, tools for whatever inside in that, and that's basically that. And then, as I say, you get all your small components, tools and cranes and bits and pieces. There's your seat, mud guards. I didn't just cast those on, but hey, there you go. And bits and pieces there. So that's those. They come in the smaller bag. The piece itself there, you've got the lower hull, A little bit of detail, fine, a bit of weight to this, of course, obviously, because it is metal. Detail on the back isn't too bad. Again, it'll need a little bit of a trim with a kind of a sharp knife there. Obviously, if you're using metal, make sure your knife is sharp and maybe resharpen it afterwards, because metal will, of course, dull the blade. And kind of some little bit basic internals there as well. Top section, again, detail isn't too bad. Engine deck looks good. You've got your bits and pieces to the side. Again, look, there's a little piece there, very stabby. So we'll take care of those. Tools and bits and pieces here, and same on the other side. So you have, the wooden block for track tensioning and all the bits and pieces that are in the usual kind of format. Bit of room there for a spare track and so on. So basically, I mean, this is a fairly straightforward situation. This goes on top of that like so. Obviously, I'll just use one track here now for the purposes of the video, but you put that in there, that would be glued, and then you would have this little lip goes in the front, and you'd have that there, and that essentially, apart from the other small little components, is what your Bergpanther will look like. And I'll show it to you once I get it put together and painted up. But that's the long and short of it, as they say. The seats will go in there and the other few bits and pieces, and off you go. It doesn't come with crew or decals or anything like that, or painting instructions, so it will be the spares box for that kind of carry-on, and I'm sure we'll get along fine with it. It's fairly straightforward, fairly simple, nice bit of weight to it. In fairness, it's the one thing I really like about white metal pieces, is that they are very, very sturdy. As regards sticking them together, I just use super glue. I've never had a problem with that, or Loctite, or one of those things. And off you go. I'm sure it's probably something more specific for metal pieces, but no, I just use that stuff. And I'm kind of looking forward to getting this piece done, because this Panther battalion that I've been doing for the last while now, at this stage, as I say, from the old stash in the attic, going back years, it's basically reaching its conclusion now, and I'll be moving on to Panzer IVs. But that Bergpanther is sort of the end of the line as regards my my Panther battalion, and me constructing it, obviously. So it'll be decals and bits and pieces for any of the ones that you've seen in videos before that haven't been done yet, once this is kind of painted up and done and all the rest of it. So what I'll do is I'll crack on and paint this guy up, and you can see what it turns out like, really, I suppose, and we'll do a bit of a size comparison then. This, from what I can see, is probably heading towards 176 as opposed to 172, so I'm kind of thinking it'll probably match in a bit better with the likes of Matchbox Airfix, although the Airfix is a little bit smaller than 176, I think, personally. But at the end of the day, it's a Bergpanther, and I needed one, and well, there it is. So I'll crack on and paint this up, lads, and I'll be back to you momentarily. Stay right where you are. Cheers. Hey guys, and welcome back to the second half of this video regarding the SHQ miniatures Bergpanther in roughly 1/76 scale. Nice little kit to put together. One or two small issues. There was a little bit of warping, I think, on the engine deck section, probably because it was taken out of the mold a little bit too soon, I would imagine, but not a major issue. A little bit of stowage kind of helps cover that up anyway. As you can see, the box is slightly off square there on the top. The additional kind of stowage and bits and pieces there, that's all from leftover bits and pieces from Plastic Soldier Company stuff, mainly the 251 Sd.Kfz 251 C and D and variants kits, and also the Plastic Soldier Company Panther itself. Basically, I just utilised those bits and bobs to dress it up a small little bit, and I also provided us with a pair of crew members, which you can probably see inside there. One with a steel helmet and one with a kind of a felt cap or whatever it was called, and that was that. Fine bit of weight to this. You can hear it there. My old Christmas biscuit tin, which is being utilised as a plinth here at the moment, giving a final rattle underneath there. So there's a bit of weight to it, so it will not slide off your War Games table too readily, I should imagine. From that perspective, from a War Games perspective, there's most of these kind of things tend to have a little bit less detail in them than some of the
more advanced kits. But when I was looking for a Bergpanther a while back, I couldn't actually locate a plastic kit. I did find a die-cast one by the Agostini, which I didn't purchase. This is a while back now, but I elected to go with this guy because I had used SHQ miniatures before and I found them very good. So again, as I say, once painted up, they look okay. Again, my mediocre paint job aside, as I always say, I do not profess to be any good at painting, and I'm not really willing to put an awful lot of effort into improving now for wargame stuff. Shelf models, slightly different story, but even at that. So that's it really. The stowage and stuff, as you can see, that I put on is just some personal stowage there, little canvas roll. Of course, there's the two guys inside here. There's the wire section off the front of a 251. You might recognize that if you know your German armoured vehicles, and I'm sure you do if you're watching videos of this nature. You have some jerry cans, Panzer Schreck, a couple of more jerry cans in there, and a little bit more in the line of personal stowage at the back there. I hope you can see that because the light is at variance today at the moment for some reason. Anyway, so as I said, this really kind of comes in at about the 1/76 scale. And I'm just going to try and elevate myself here a small little bit to do the old usual size comparison thing. So I'm going to put a matchbox, a Revel, and the aforementioned Plastic Soldier Company guide there, and you can kind of see, I'll just bring the tripod up a little bit here and hope this works out. You can probably see there quite easily that the Bergpanther matches in rather well with the Matchbox one, which is 1/76 of course, and is smaller than the Revel one, which is a true 1/72, and a little bit smaller again than the Plastic Soldier Company one, which I have mentioned before are great kits, but they are fractionally large, I think myself, as regards their scale to 1/72. But that's just my own personal observations, and as I've said before, these things generally don't bother me too much. So that's that. As I said, this particular battalion has a multitude of brands and kind of scales in it. So yeah, obviously, I'm true to my word. I'm not too worried about scale difference as long as it's not completely demented. So that's it, guys. That is the SHQ miniatures. We'll call it 1/76 scale Bergpanther, and quite a happy little model where I am now, having possession of this. It's a nice little piece, and it completes my rapid fire Panther battalion quite nicely. And basically, I'm off to set up a Wargames table and see how that rolls with the rules. So if you'd like and subscribe, that'd be great, guys. And we'll be back again with some videos fairly soon. I have a load of Panzer IVs to deal with, and I also have to finish off my battalion of Tiger IIs, which will probably take precedence over the Panzer IVs for the next week or two. So we'll get a couple of videos of those guys up for you. And again, as I say, like and subscribe and share and all that business. And if you have done so already, my appreciation and thanks is all heading your direction. Take care, guys. See you soon.